Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. It is one of my goals to increase my knowledge about everything when it comes to catching deers and ballistics. There's always new stuff coming out that we got to figure out for ourselves and focus on. But what I try to do is bring you not only deer hunts of every cartridge out there, but also give you the knowledge and understanding, especially when it comes to comparing particular loadings versus others, which better in this scenario, what's better in that scenario. You guys ask me all the time because I've already gone and done all the learning myself and filmed a bunch of it. But what we're talking about today is this guy right here. Now, what in the world is this? Well, a lot of you might have some pretty good guesses. Some of you might have no idea. Let me put it on my desk here where I can get the camera up real close and focus and compare it just visually to a couple other cartridges. Then we're going to talk about the ballistics and how it compares to some others. Do we or did we need this new cartridge or not? You be the judge by the end of the video. Watch it till the end. It's going to be a fun one. And let me know in the comments, what do you think about this guy right here? But before we figure out what it is, let me compare it to a couple of others that are pretty similar in size, in shape, in purpose, and maybe ballistics. We're going to talk about that here in a second, but let's take a closer look here. All right, so here on my desk here is the cartridge in question that we're focusing on today, and we're going to compare it to several others all throughout this video. You might just looking at it, is that a straight wall cartridge maybe? Is that a 350 Legend? Nope, but here's a 350 Legend to its left. So you might be starting to get a better idea here. Well, it's not a 350 Legend. Is it maybe a 450 Bushmaster? Nope, but there's a 450 Bushmaster right there. Well, it's kind of a tad smaller than that 450 Bushmaster. Is it the 360 Buckhammer? Nope, but I do have a 360 Buckhammer right there. Well, it's not 4570 because it's smaller than that 450 Bushmaster, but I'll go ahead and put a 4570 next to it. If you hadn't guessed it yet, it's not 360 Buckhammer, it's not 350 Legend, or 4570 or 450 Bushmaster. This is the 400 Legend. This one in particular, I just picked up today, is the Winchester PowerPoint in a 215 grainer. There we have it sitting on the box there. 400 Legend. This one is a 215 grainer. Now, the 400 Legend has been out for a little while. We got factory ammo on the shelves. I actually had my wife pick me this up from Tolliver's today. You guys know I love Tolliver's. They got factory ammo in. You guys have been requesting that I do a series on 400 Legend, and I'm going to get to it here soon. Really what piqued my interest is Remington announced they're going to start loading 400 Legend. Once they get to it, several different loadings. You guys know I'm a Remington fan. I got a Remington ammo banner right here on my wall right here. So, 400 Legend. Let's jump into the numbers. Is it better than 350 Legend? It's a bigger number. Is it better than 450 Bushmaster? How does it compare? I've crunched a bunch of numbers here in the last little bit of time. We're going to talk about these cartridges I just showed you and a few extra interesting ones, maybe like a 30-30, a 35 Remington, maybe a couple more. But let's jump into the numbers here and see what we think about the 400 Legend. All right, so now, you guys that have watched the show have seen me compare stuff and these color codes. Essentially, green is good, red is bad, yellow is kind of in the middle. So, on this list, how many is this? I have put together 23 different factory loadings all across the board. We're going to take a look at them and see how they compare. And you and I can learn ourselves about some data, and also maybe it'll help you make a decision on what you want. So, right off the bat, let's talk about drop in inches. This data is done with an assumption of 1.5 height over bore with your scope. Also at sea level. So if you do your numbers, they might be slightly different, but that's the assumptions that I used here. So right off the bat, green is good. Well, what's green? We've got a bunch of different things in here. Like I said, well, there's a green line at 400 legend. So 400 legend is good when it comes to drop compared to all these other ones. Two of them actually are green. There's a green 350 legend. There's a green 360 buckhammer. There's some green 30-30. Well, real quick, let me just go through the numbers. You can freeze this if you want to. So, 400 legend in the drop department is pretty good. What is red? Well, those are subsonic rounds. There's that 400 legend Winchester super suppressed. It drops fast. There's the same load in 350 legend. It drops fast. But if you just look at everything being sighted in at 100 yards, if you just look at 150 yards real quick, deer pops up at 150 yards, your rig is sighted in at 100. Well, 400 legend is going to drop 2.5 to 3 inches unless you're using the subsonic round, which you shouldn't use that for hunting. Talk about that a little bit later. I've done it, didn't work. The 350 legend, well, it's about the same. It's going to drop 2.5 to 3 inches. How about the 450 Bushmaster? It's going to drop a little bit more at 150, 3.5 to 4 inches, and then so on and so forth, all down the chart. We've even got 4570 numbers thrown in there. Now let's bump it over to 200 yards. How much does the 400 legend drop? Well, you can see that Deer Season XP 190 grain drops 7 inches at 200 yards. The subsonic round almost 3 feet. The Winchester PowerPoint 215 drops 8 inches. So, not too terrible. The drop is pretty good. You compare that to 350 legend. At 200 yards, 400 legend drops less than 350 legend and 450 Bushmaster. So if we focus in, everything sighted in at 100 yards, the 400 legend drops less than 450 Bushmaster at 200 yards, and it drops less than the 350 legend at 200 yards. Did I say that right? It drops less than 350 and 450 at 200 yards. Let's bump it out to 250 yards. It's dropping 1.5 feet with the hunting loads. Still beating the 350 legend and the 450 legend. Drop it down to the 360 buckhammer. The 360 buckhammer 180 grainer hangs in there real tight from a drop perspective compared to the 400 legend. So, freeze this, look at it. I could ramble on about this all day, but here's some numbers on drop when it comes to the 400 legend. Drops less than 350 and 450 and stays on the pretty tight curve with 360 buckhammer from a drop perspective. Well, maybe you're sitting there thinking, I want to hunt with the one that has the most energy. 400 legend, it shines pretty good from a drop perspective. How about the energy? Well, let me pop this chart up again. It's the same chart in the same order, but we're talking about foot-pounds of energy now and not drop in inches. So what's green on the chart? Well, the 400 legend has a light green tint. There's some brighter green, which means some things have some more energy. Well, the 350 legend is not hanging on there anymore. It's yellow. What else is green? 450 Bushmaster, every single one is green. So if you're looking for big energy, you could look at 400 legend. You could look at the 450 Bushmaster, every single one of them is green. Or the rest of the green is at the bottom of the chart, and that's the 4570 governments. Which carries out the energy the furthest? 4570 by far. I have this chart out to 550 yards, and everything turns yellow or red except for 4570. stays across the chart, bright green, most energy. Now, none of these cartridges are long range. I would say most of these are for purposes of hunting, 200 yards and in hunting cartridges. That's just my opinion. Could you take a deer at 250, 300 with any of these? Yeah, sure. But not ideal at those distances. We're starting to drop quick past 200 yards, starting to lose energy fast past 200 yards. But again, 400 Legend, do we need it? Is it pretty cool? Well, hey, I'm all about things being new, but when you look at it from a drop perspective, that 400 in the middle drops less than the 450 and the 350. I know I've said that like 10 times already, but hey, that's kind of a cool thing. Kind of cool that it drops less. Also, if you take this and shake it, there's almost no extra room in that case. So they're using most of this case for these PowerPoint loads. Let me shake the 4570. That one's actually a Remington core-locked 4570. Sounds like there's no extra space in there. Now let's shake the 350 Legend. Same thing. So most of these straight wall cartridges, they're loading that up with whatever powder's in there. But and again, the energy for 400 Legend, it's pretty cool. Now when it comes to taking deer, I've taken deer with every single one of these that we're comparing. 4570, I have a video taking deer with that. Great at taking deer. 360 Buckhammer, I have a video taking deer with that. Whitetail, did just fine. Now 450 Bushmaster, every deer that I've taken with 450 Bushmaster, and I do have a video taking deer with it too, dropped right where it stood, which is ideal. I don't like tracking deer if I don't have to. 350 Legend, now this is the weakest. If you looked at the energy chart, it's meh. Does it have a lot less recoil? I don't know about a lot less, but definitely the lowest recoil of the bunch of everything we're sitting here talking about today. Young folks, sure. I took 2 deer on film with 350 Legend this past deer season with these right here, the Remington core locked 180 grainers. Did it take the deer? Yeah, the deer were at 15-20 yards. We got in pretty close on them from a blind in the woods, kind of a good situation where you might be thinking about straight wall stuff, and the deer still ran 50 yards, 75 yards. So it takes deer too, but it doesn't quite have the boogie sauce that the rest of the ones have. People ask me all the time, what do you think about 350 Legend? My personal opinion, if you're a grown man, I probably wouldn't pick this to deer hunt with. I probably just hurt some feelings, but I've taken a lot of deer. If you give me the choice between 450 Bushmaster or 4570 or 360 Buckhammer, I'm going to pick every single one of those for a deer hunt before I pick up 350 Legend. Again, if you love 350 Legend, more power to you. My kids hunted with it and it did great. But if you're giving me the option, I'd much rather hunt with this right here. This one's actually a Remington Premier AccuTip. This will drop a deer. And I've deer hunted with those. That's this right here. I got the box, I might as well show you. It's a 260 grainer Premier AccuTip. Those are a beast. But hey, I wanted to have my own personal numbers. I do not yet have a 400 Legend. Tolliver's, my shop's got one down there in a Mossberg Patriot. I might pick that thing up here pretty soon. It's got a threaded barrel, which means we can put a suppressor on it, which would make it even that much more better. But throwing some numbers at you today on 400 Legend and how it compares to some other things. I mean, they're printing a picture of a deer on here. But again, Remington announced that they're going to be loading the core locked load in a 210 grain is what the marketing thing said. So stay tuned for that. If you're a Remington guy like me, hopefully we'll get that 400 Legend on the shelves in the Remington Core Lock. That'd be super cool if I could film a deer hunt with it this coming season. But stay tuned. More stuff coming on 400 Legend. Now I've got the data in my mind. And we're going to have a bunch of videos coming out on 400 Legend. But hey, appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you on the next one. Hooty-hoo.